Welcome, my name is Kelly.
And I'm Nathan.
And this is Fanimated, an animation fan podcast where we get a chance to geek out about our favorite animated media. And today I'm very excited to talk about Bee and Puppycat Lazy in Space.
Yeah, it's a... Kelly was been gushing about this show for a while, right? So I was like, all right, Kelly's excited about something. You should check it out. Maybe you'll get on the podcast. This is one of the weirdest shows I've ever watched in my life, Kelly.
I would agree. It is one of the weirdest shows I have ever witnessed. And that's why I love it. Let me just say, my introduction to this show, and you know what? I'll just say the spoiler warning now. Spoiler warning for Bee and Puppycat Lazy in Space. It's only 16 episodes, if you're interested. Although, as we will discuss, I will admit that it is not a show for everybody. I think that's fair to say. But I usually, keep an eye on the new things coming out, especially if they're on Netflix, because Netflix is one of the few streaming services I actually, pay for. And when Bee and Puppycat came up, honestly, my first reaction was just like, this is a super cute art style. It's so cute. I love it. I need to try watching it. And then I had, extra time. I often, watch these shows, during my workout in the gym and whatever. And I was just like, I finished my Great British Bake Off or whatever, and I was like, I need something else. And I turn on the first episode of Bee and Puppycat, and I had to stop some reps I was doing and be like, what the heck is happening? What is going on here? And I ended the episode, and I was just like, two simultaneous thoughts. One was, what in the world did I just witness? And two was, next episode, let's go.
I'm going to be honest, that was roughly my same experience of trying to watch this first episode of nothing's really going on. Let me check out this show. And then I watched the first episode and was so utterly confused about what it was about or what was supposed to be happening. It felt like I had missed something, and I knew that this was the sequel, right, to something that had been on YouTube before. And so I was instantly went to Wikipedia, looked it up. I'm like, what is happening? Is this season 2 and I missed something? I felt so lost. And so I went and I found the original Bee and Puppycat that's on Cartoon Hangover on YouTube, that everyone can go watch. And it's sort of 12 5-ish 6-minute episodes over there or something. So very much not a cartoon length thing, but much more, old YouTube kind of style of things. And I watched the entirety of that, and it made even less sense, Kelly.
And you still went back to it.
Very slowly. We definitely had different watching patterns for this show. And we weren't even really planning on having this episode, right? Until I was like, I got some vacation. I can finish up some of these shows that I've been sort of pinging along, only watching an episode every week or every once in a while. And, you had the free time, right? It's a very I had the free time, right? Let's just watch this 20-ish minute episode thing.
Yes. And I mean, I watched it, my first time watching it, in a week, in less than a week, I'm sure. It just I was enthralled with, and part of why I was enthralled was because it wasn't making sense. I was like, what are the pieces that I'm missing? And I think it works because it saves so much vital information till the end. And then even when it does answer questions, it leaves you more confused than ever.
See, we're going to disagree here. I don't think it answered a single one of my questions. which is really difficult to have this podcast about this show where it's like, I want to tell you about this show that makes zero sense and answers none of your questions. It's
This
pretty.
and I'll give you a plot synopsis or a plot lack thereof synopsis, but
Yes, it's a very plot lack thereof, very loosely put together story.
yes. But before that, like, just want to say that for me, this show was in the experience of the show and not the plot. I think that's fair to say. I think people that do like it don't like it for the plot because there really isn't a very solid one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, quick synopsis as we can. In its most streamlined basic form, and this is also why I love it. It is about Bee, who's a young woman who is unemployed. A magical cat / dog thing falls from the sky. And basically, that's Puppycat. So it's Bee and Puppycat, title of titular characters right there. And Puppycat brings Bee on a whole bunch of temp job, like, missions in space. And I put air quotes around the mission. And that's it. That is the show. Bee and Puppycat need to pay rent. They do a temp job. They get money. They pay a 5-year-old the rent money.
You're already losing us. What?
Okay, so, like, this world of Bee and Puppycat has so many strange, weird side characters. Like Cardamon, the, like, 7-year-old boy who is the landlord for, like, everyone else in this show. You have a family of the wizard family, who are all named after fantastical wizards in, like, literature and media. And they're all having their own, like, identity crises.
And none of them are magical.
No, none of them are actually magic. Their last name is just wizard. Okay, you've got a mayor who is also the local TV celebrity.
Pretty Patrick's lunchtime hour.
I cannot with Pretty Patrick. This is why I love this show. I'm just like, all these characters are ridiculous. And you just have this random ex-boxer lady who just bursts through walls constantly. So those are your, like, general background character, side character people. And it's literally, I mean, it is fairly episodic. There's not a lot of, like, continuation. There's some continuation, obviously. There is kind of an overarching, here's some things that happen. But for the most part, it's just Bee and Puppycat do some weird mission in space. And again, this is a fantastical space world in which, you know, every planet, like, there's a toilet for a planet. Like, this is not in any way realistic at all. But they go on their little adventures. The jokes are, for me, I mean, that's the other thing. It's just, like, the humor hits me absolutely perfectly. I love the humor. It's just so, like, dry and, like...
They aren't telling jokes per se. It is just that the absurdity of what is going on, and everyone essentially takes it for granted.
It's like, I'm just trying to explain to people who haven't watched the show what it's like to watch the show. And if you know the play Waiting for Godot, this, like, absolutely nonsensical, words are coming out of their mouths that, I mean, the dialogue and, like, structure of these conversations doesn't make any logical sense. There people come in and out who just, like, that shouldn't be there. Even the space that they're at doesn't make sense, right? Okay, that's the feeling that it is, okay? Except make it like a more positive vibe and like chill like background music, you know?
Yeah, it's like fruity synthwave version of
Yes.
that play.
Of Waiting for Godot. Yes, it's like it's like they still sometimes like reach those existential crises like in a lot of that absurdist media, but it is like cotton candy colored. Like
Yes, very much so.
yes.
Um, it also, to me, it has the very vibe of like the old like Adventure Time style as well, of like not only in like sort of its animation, but also in its like absurdist humor of just like things are happening and we're kind of telling you a moral and there are characters, but it's really hard to stick everything together because life is very confusing and it's hard to stick everything together.
Absolutely. 100%. I just echo the comparison to Adventure Time is a really good one because like they do have that same vibe. And I would say if anything there are I mean just a few less like crude jokes than Adventure Time can be sometimes, like I don't want to say immature humor that Adventure Time can be sometimes, but that kind of thing. But the same, absolutely the same, like avenue of like, it's funny because it's ridiculous. And like, and it only works because all of the characters take everything super seriously. And
Mm-hmm.
then the random things happen or this like absurdist dialogue, and you're just like, this is fantastic and ridiculous. And I love it. I'm trying to think of a good example, but like, I mean, okay, like episode 3, I think it is. Like one of my favorite little parts in that is, and we'll get to characters here in a minute, but like, Deckard, I think is his name. Yeah, Deckard and Cass are siblings. Those are the two
Mm-hmm.
main wizard, family members, I'd say. But Deckard tells Cass that he's going to go off to like culinary school, and Cass like just calls that out to all of the brothers, and they all come like storming in, and they're like, you know, just the fact of like this is the first time you see them all together is like all of these like brothers coming out of the woodwork to come and like absolutely like dogpile Deckard and becomes absolutely ridiculous, and they're all talking over each other like you're going blah 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 blah, and then Cass jumps behind the bed like to hide from the onslaught of brothers. Like even that humor, like that kind of like visual gag almost is to me hilarious. Hopefully that's a good explanation of what this humor is like. Or it's like, and let's just talk about the main characters. Let's talk about Puppycat for a second, because like Puppycat communicates through beeps and boops, basically.
It is a weird like synthoid version of the Charlie Brown adults.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yes. And like even that in and of itself creates like humor because B is the only one who understands him, and so Puppycat can be like, I mean, Puppycat is a very angry character and a little hot tempered, and like could be yelling really absurd, profane things at someone, and then they will just be like, "Ah, that's so cute," you know.
Because no one understands Puppycat except for B sometimes. Like,
Sometimes.
B seems to be able to communicate with Puppycat pretty effectively and well,
Hmm.
but no one else seems to be able to communicate with Puppycat.
Yes.
Um, Puppycat can also shoot lasers out of his mouth.
Yes. So B can pick up Puppycat and like use his tail as a trigger for the
Right.
lasers.
To defend them against these giant black hands that invade their temp jobs almost every episode. They're a
Yes.
very like Team Rocket version of these
Uh-huh.
invading hands that come and are after Puppycat
Yes, they're coming after Puppycat.
because he is a space prince.
He's a space prince outlaw.
He sings a song about a space princess that betrays a space prince, and it is like sort of inferred that he is talking about himself, but none of the characters in the song that he's singing look like any of the characters in the show. And so when we say that this is plot light, this is the kind of stuff we mean, where we're like grasping at straws for a through line. Like,
Yeah, like they're definitely, it's like there definitely are solid, like not solid. Solid is the wrong word. There are definitely shadows of a through line, and you can see it, and it's like repetitive patterns, but you have no idea what actually is going on. But like, again, I don't know, there's something about that I really like for this content. Like, I I like that it doesn't make sense fully, and that there are still so many mysteries around it, and that it kind of emphasizes that that's not the point of this show. Like, I love to theorize and create my own little headcanons about what's going on with the through line of the plot. But also, I'm just happy to sit there and be with Bee and Puppycat on their weird little adventure, and then their, Dr. Doofenshmirtz's black hands that come out and every episode, and and they do the same thing over and over. It's great. I mean, like, that's the thing, is that they don't necessarily do the same things over and over at all. Actually, every single episode is completely different and bizarre in a completely different way.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to coin this style as atmospheric cartoon because much like atmospheric music that is like rainforest sounds, and then every once in a while there's a synth in there, right? And like that's like the
Yes.
definition of atmospheric music. And so this is like a cartoon where sometimes there's plot. Like
Yes, I absolutely like that term, atmospheric cartoon. And honestly, that represents the way I've watched it. Like, I've watched it 3 times because I'll have it on in the background doing something else. Like, and I know that's true for how a lot of people watch any TV show, but like, I don't know. This is just one that's just like feel good, happy, and like, but also like, somewhat reflective of like just early adulthood in a very realistic way. That's like, hey, it's hard and weird and no one knows what's going on.
including the characters, including the audience.
Yes. And so yeah, it's very atmospheric, and even like they do have like atmospheric music going on constantly, and like the art and the colors are all very pleasant. It's to me, it's a lovely package. It's pleasant to consume.
Yeah, I would refer to the genre of like the music as like a lo-fi or dream pop is like a more specific term that gets like the whole like, pastel cloud kind of feel, right? And so that's even when it doesn't make sense, that music is playing in the background.
Oh yeah, it's like constant. It's pretty constant. And it's just like, that's why I say it's chill. Like, it's the most definition of chill. Even when there are like action scenes or things going on, like, you never feel anxious. At least I didn't when I watched it. Like, even at the very end, and I know we're like skipping whatever plot there is, but like, there is like a lot of stuff going on, and like the black hands are, really, coming at you, and you have Puppycat is trying to get the spaceship up and whatever. We'll get to that later. But like, there is a lot going on, but it's still weirdly pleasant in a way. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like
The little bleeps and bloop music is still going on in the background, and that's like
Yes.
honestly when I first like noticed it so much, I was like, this music is not fit. Like these arms are tearing apart their island. Everyone is panicking and falling into the ocean, and you're playing like
Hmm.
lullabies to go to sleep to techno's baby's music. Like what is happening?
Yes, yes. And but I don't know. To me, it fits and it doesn't take me out of it.
It
And
took me out of it
it
at
took
that
you out of
one
it.
point
Yeah.
because I was like, any other show would have any other soundtrack at this climactic point.
Yeah.
Um, and yes, that's a very weird scene.
It is. It is. Um, so yeah, as we try to describe what this is like, but yeah, the music I think it is a very very important part of the atmospheric cartoon. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, there is lore in this show. You just don't get answers about it. And so yeah, is Puppycat a secret princess? As all shows do.
Mm.
A secret space outlaw. Um, we do see the space outlaw, and this is just jumping into lore stuff and ignoring all the other characters completely, and I'll get to the there are a
We'll
lot
get
of
to B
characters.
soon.
Yeah, we'll get to be here and other characters. But just thinking about Puppycat, especially when it's kind of inferred that Puppycat and Space Outlaw are the same person, um, the Space Outlaw is also shown in like a flashback episode with Bee's dad. And like even that whole thing is ridiculous. It doesn't make sense because like Space Outlaw has a ship and like they go after these little like fragments, these little what do they call them?
They look
Stars.
like tinkered toys, right? Like they're
Yeah.
like little like Lincoln log type plastic star bits, right?
Yes, yes. And they have special powers or something. Or they're an energy source because Bee's dad, this is the other thing. Bee's dad in this flashback is a baby and he is like developing weapons for the space outlaw. This is the kind of ridiculousness that I love. And Space Outlaw is absolutely dunking on this kid, right? And this kid is
Hmm.
like, da, 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 this is great, blah, blah, blah. And then Space Outlaw, like, teaches him what a prank is and then gets pranked by the kid. And I'm like, yes, this is the humor I'm here for.
And like this is so light that I don't think I realized in that moment that the baby was B's father.
Oh, really? I have a very finely tuned cartoon theorizing brain.
Okay, okay.
So, so when I see the same hairstyle on a child as I'm like, this is the same character. Also, because like no, it's me, everybody. Hi, hello. If you're new to the podcast, I'm a fan of the father characters.
Even if they're a baby who is making weapons.
Yeah. And so like immediately it's like, oh, B has daddy issues and there's like and so oh and you see B's dad at the very end of season 3 and it's like, oh, I mean not season 3, episode 3. It's like, oh, surprise, he's there. He's alive, maybe, question mark, question mark. I don't know.
I hope he shows
And
up again.
yeah,
Again.
except as a baby. And so I immediately was like, okay, I'm locking that away for later. And then he shows up because he is the baby. Anyway, so this is the kind of shadow of a continuous plot that we're talking about, right? Where it's never confirmed that the baby is B's dad, but it also is heavily implied. But also B's dad never shows up again. um anyway, all of that was basically just wanting to talk about Space Outlaw. And at some point, so the Space Outlaw has this giant spaceship that looks like a top because it was a top and then it turned into a spaceship. I can't talk about this without laughing. Anyway, And so just as we're talking about like random lore, shadow of a plot thing, like again, spoiler warning, this is all spoilers, but like at the end of the season, the island itself that they've been on this whole time it turns out that is the spaceship. And so then it gives you 5 million other questions like, wait, how long has the spaceship been there? People have started living on it. Like, it's been here for how long?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so it's wild. Everything's wild in this show. But there's Puppycat. Puppycat is like a selfish, kind of selfish, kind of ridiculous, over the top, crazy character, right? And then B is the balance to Puppycat of
Um,
okay, listen. They are both chaos. They are both chaos, but different chaotic energies.
somehow, when you put their chaoses right next to each other, it goes in a straight line towards something.
Yes, it does. It does. It's like it's almost like, oh, I forget what those tones are in choir, where you have a specific deep tone and high tone that like mix together in the perfect way, and you hear the like 3-tone or whatever. That's
Sure.
them. That's them.
Okay.
They're creating that extra tone. Anyway, B is also chaos, but I feel more chill. She is much more like, life is here and I'm going with whatever, and oh, we have to pay rent, I guess. And like, I don't know. I think she's just a little more chill in the sense of like, Puppycat is gonna get angry and in everyone's face, and like, B is just like gonna knock on your door and then come in to your house and then eat all your food. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, a little bit. Because, well, let's back up. B is a robot? Question mark?
Yes,
That her dad created out of stuff. And so,
that's why her dad is the little kid who developed all these weapons, right?
okay.
And he developed B, who is this basically a weapon. B is super strong and can like, I don't know, do stuff, I guess.
Yes, she has incredible strength. She can kind of like self-repair.
Mm-hmm.
But then like all of the like she doesn't understand, like she is somehow there to be like learning how to be human but has no idea how to be human. And so like one of the main gags is like she continually just puts all of the food she gets in the toilet because she thinks like it's a fridge, and like doesn't need to eat or worry about like all this stuff, and is always down to eat cake for breakfast, and is like
Like, that's the kind of humor that it just kills me, because like, she's like, oh, thank you for this, and then you just see her go plop it in the toilet. I can't. It's so funny. And the thing is, it's all done with a straight face. Like,
Mhm.
it's ridiculous, and I love it. So yeah, I I mean, as much as anyone in this show knows how to be human, she definitely does not. And what's interesting too is that this is a protagonist, and Puppycat too, in this sort of sense. They're protagonists that don't have an "I want" statement, really. At least you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in my watching of it, it doesn't feel like either of them have very strong, like, like, Dago's gonna be the greatest superhero there ever was, right? Or like,
Yeah.
Luce
Well,
from the Owl House just wants to be the best witch or whatever. Like, they don't
yeah.
have an overarching goal.
Well, they're not heroes. They're just people in quotes, because
Mm.
neither of them are human.
But
Like,
yeah. Um, but even then, right? Like, Cardamom, and we'll get to Cardamom, like, wants his mom to wake up, and Deckard wants to go to culinary school. Like, everyone else has, like, these wants and desires that Bee and Puppycat do not have, aside from the fact that, like, their want or desire for the episode will be, I will need to pay for these potato chips. Let's do a job so I can pay for the potato chips.
Mm-hmm.
That's the extent to which they have goals.
They want to watch Pretty Patrick lunchtime hour.
That's the only thing they want in their lives, is to watch Pretty Patrick.
Oh, I could just hear Puppycat says Pretty Patrick, because he couldn't like actually say Pretty Patrick in his weird falsetto-y synthoid voice.
Oh my goodness. I know we're going off topic, but can we talk about Pretty Patrick for a second? Because
Pretty Patrick is just a dude, and he has essentially just like, it's called Pretty Patrick Lunchtime Hour, where he will just like eat his lunch with you, but it's like very like Mr. Rogers, like he's sort of like asking questions to an audience that isn't there, and sort of like being very like parasocial with his thing. But then so you experience it in that like first episode where they're like trying to watch his lunchtime hour, where they'll find out his favorite food.
This is a big deal.
It's a big deal. But then like they have to go get money, and they get like swarmed by a bunch of cats and jacuzzis, and nothing makes sense, and they're just trying to watch Pretty Patrick's lunchtime hour.
Yes.
But then like he recurs, like he's a recurring character more than any other plot in this show. And so the next thing you learn is that like Pretty Patrick is actually the mayor of the island, because they just like him so much. And then Pretty Patrick is on their money because he's the mayor. And so throughout the rest of the show, whenever they're trying to pay with cash, they have these pink dollar bills that just have Pretty Patrick on it. And then there's an episode where Puppycat just like gets obsessed with like essentially this Tamagotchi game that's like hatching eggs or boiling eggs for Pretty Patrick. And he spends all of their money on the little microtransactions.
Yes.
And so then they have to do jobs to fund Puppycat's addiction to this Pretty Patrick game. And then there's the one episode where Pretty Patrick comes back with a child.
That's one of my favorite episodes, I'm not gonna lie. Because they're like, Pretty Patrick comes back to town or whatever, and they're like, oh, they're at the train station, we should go meet him. And of course Puppycat's like, yes. And they like, and here's another side comment. Whenever Puppycat says yes, the Vocaloid sound is no. And whenever he says no, the Vocaloid sound is yes. And that never ceases to be funny to me. We should mention that his Vocaloid sounds don't make sense, and so you are reading subtitles when he talks. But, oh man, that's just gold. That's pure gold. Anyway, they go to the train station to meet Pretty Patrick and have all of Puppycat's dreams come true, right? And he's like, he will shove old ladies out of the way to get to Pretty Patrick. And find out, like, Pretty Patrick has, like, adopted a baby. Or they don't even say adopted. They just say that he got a baby.
He got a baby.
There's no explanation. There doesn't need to be, I guess. And then it becomes Puppycat's mission to, like, he wants to be the baby. He wants to be with Pretty Patrick. And
but he ends up, he like keeps embarrassing himself though. Like he keeps like spilling and tripping, and like they're kind of a big mess, and so B has to like keep covering for him and like get all this stuff. And Pretty Patrick is just like, I want to take this baby home, like, but he's like still just like endlessly positive, very nice, soothing dulcet tones of his voice the entire time.
Even when Puppycat steals his wallet, he's like, okay.
His face is on the money. I don't know if his wallet is that important.
That's true. Anyway, so that's Pretty Patrick. I don't remember where we're going with the comments about Pretty Patrick, but an excellent recurring joke. And I always enjoy, like, a lot of media, has their show within a show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of whatever thing that the characters watch, and then they, make up. Like, Gravity Falls is a great example that every single time they're watching TV, like the Dipper and Mabel are watching TV, it's always something completely different, or it's like Duck Detective. It's like these recurring, like, crazy things that the characters watch on TV. It's always interesting. Anyway, so in this show, in Being Puppycat, it's Pretty Patrick. That's
who like also like he's not like sparkle gorgeous handsome. He's just like a normal looking dude who's just named Pretty Patrick.
Oh, it's brilliant. I love it so much. And Puppycat is obsessed with Pretty Patrick.
Yeah, and you'll find his like logo everywhere though. Like they hide, like it's their like Mickey Mouse ears. Like he's on posters in people's houses. Like he's just like on, advertisements and things throughout the show. It's just like this normal dude smiling.
He owns this island. Like,
yeah,
it's hilarious. So yeah, definitely one of the better reoccurring characters and reoccurring gags. So let's talk about a few of the other characters here, and we have to talk about Cardamon.
Yes, our favorite character.
Yes, because Cardamon is our favorite character. He is the 7-year-old landlord, who is the only one in this show who acts like an adult. And he is the only one who is not an adult.
Oh, he's so great. So, yeah, your first introduction to Cardamon is like he's essentially like rent's due, knocking on Bee's door.
He talks a little British accent, so cute.
He has to come and fix her toilet that she keeps clogging with food, and all he has is like a rubber hammer that extends, and he just like hits stuff with it, and the stuff gets fixed.
It's fantastic.
And he's always just like kind of curmudgeon-y, but how curmudgeon-y can you be as a 7-year-old?
Yes. Yes. And like he just shuffles around and is just like, complains about life like this old man. And then, but yet he still like goes to his elementary school and like still like, does all this stuff.
But is also an old man and curmudgeon-y there as well. And
that's one of my favorite too, because all the other kids are totally normal kids that act like the kids, and he's just like above it all. He's above even the teachers. Like he's it's so funny. And Cardamon, like I mentioned earlier, his one goal and desire is for his mom to wake up, because his mom is in a coma, and like it's actually really, really sad. And some of the like best like emotional beats are through Cardamon and his experience, because then it'll just be like him like falling asleep next to her, and it's like really like, aw, he just wants to be with her. And so like he just is trying to keep everything up to snuff until she can wake up and stuff. But like, again, there's no one really taking care of him. And so like one of the overarching things is like his mom starts crying these big tears that like fill up the house, and he has to keep trying to get rid of them, and like just all these things. He doesn't know how to like properly make himself dinner, just like little things where you just go, oh, poor baby Cardamon. And he also finds a stray dog.
Sticky.
Sticky.
I'm not a big fan of Sticky.
You're not a big fan of Sticky?
Sticky's a little weird for my taste.
Sticky is just Sticky is a normal dog. Cardamon has insisted that Puppycat is somehow betrothed to Sticky.
To Sticky. Which is the weird part. I'm not like Puppycat's really not about it, and Sticky is a normal dog about it. Like,
Yes. Yes. Sticky is a normal dog, and Puppycat obviously is not. So it is very strange. But it is just, Cardamom, you know, being a kid, and maybe the only way that he is a kid in this whole show is his adoration of Sticky the dog.
his mom is like somehow tied into the whole like space outlaw thing though as well
Yes, because
as like
Violet is his mom, and Violet is seen in the flashback episode, with the space outlaw when they get the spaceship and go hunting for the gems and everything. So there's a connection there.
yes. And so there's another where we don't get any answers for anything of like why is she in a coma, and then she wakes up suddenly in the last episode for because the spaceship turned on, like
Yeah.
because Puppy Cat accidentally pulled her life support. Like none of it makes sense. And then they get into the spaceship, and like Cardamom has this like huge, like my mom's here. Oh my gosh. And then she's just like, why are you awake? We should both be asleep. No explanation. Let's go back to bed. And we're like, what is happening? There is 3 minutes left in this episode.
And then she turns to B and is like, find your stupid father.
Yeah, and B is in 5 different chunks at this point
Yes,
because
that's
she got
right.
ripped apart. Like
Again, nothing makes sense. So clearly, B's dad, Space Outlaw / Puppycat, and Violet were all like, hunters of these gems at some point in space, and somehow landed their ship in the middle of nowhere in the ocean, and then decide, who knows? But then Violet and Cardamom are on life support, and it looks like. Who knows? Anyway, who knows if this will ever be answered? But yes, whenever they give you any more information, you're always left with more questions.
yeah, which is sort of where the like when we say the show isn't for everyone, it's not like oh little kids shouldn't watch it and like oh it's gory or graphic. That's usually what we mean when we say
Yeah.
we're like if you are a person who wants answers or a through plot or for things to make sense, this show will give you none of that.
This show is not about that. It really is. You either love it or you hate it. Like it might not be enjoyable for you. And it's interesting because like I definitely think this is family friendly, but the thing is I think this is written for older audiences. Like
Mm-hmm.
but it's not in a way that is in any way like crude or inappropriate. It's just the things they talk about, and I think there are some language concerns. I think there are some bad words occasionally, but usually by Puppycat, and you have to read them. But but even just like again, like with like I said, everyone's going through an existential crisis, and just with the problems like they face, and it all just feels more. It's more mature problems than oh I'm being bullied at school, which I hate to just like water something down like that, but they are problems that adults face, and that's why like I connected with it a lot more, because like it is silly and it is ridiculous, but then every once in a while it'll land a little thing that's just like hits you, and it's just like yeah, life is weird. And like what are we gonna do? Like it makes me want to be like B and just kind of like chill out about it.
Right, but you also don't have a magic cat dog that you can ring a bell and get money for doing weird jobs. So.
That's true. But even then, like they do the weirdest jobs, but they're still working hard.
B is at least.
B is working hard. Puppycat again couldn't care less about about working hard. But in some weird way, they work together as a duo, and it's very sweet. And they like start to get to know each other better, and like B is always taking care of Puppycat, and eventually Puppycat takes care of B too, which is sweet. So before we end, because if anything, this episode of Fanimated is a look into the episodes of this show. It's jumping all around and has no through line. But before we end, we do have to talk about at least some of the wizards. So, of the wizard family, who is your favorite?
Cass, easy. Ashley Birch, voice actor, is one of my favorite voice actors ever. Like,
yeah.
I've been watching Hey Ash, What You Played by Ashley Birch and Anthony Birch for like before YouTube existed. Like Borderlands 2 is like one of the best games ever created. I think we've talked about this for other things that Ashley Birch has done. Like,
yes.
When I heard her voice, I instantly was like, they got Ashley Birch to do this? How did they do? And then I went back and watched it on YouTube. She's doing it on YouTube as well, like way back in the day. And so they kept at least her for voice acting between both the series, which was amazing just to see. But like, I guess also I am a little bit of Cass because we are both like software engineers that work from home and have to deal with all of the, tribulations that entails.
Except you, thankfully, don't have a weird lady bursting through your walls and wanting to fight you.
Yes, a pregnant lady who, because I am also, the Cass is an ex like WWE wrestler, because nothing in this show makes sense. And so her nemesis is still trying to fight her, even though she has like moved on away from her dream of being a professional wrestler into the quote unquote real world of software engineering from home, if you can call that reality in this space. But yeah, Cass is easily my favorite from the very beginning. She's also like kind of B's like only friend, which is kind of weird as well, because B is like has such like doesn't relate to anyone very well.
No, yeah.
And so,
besides, Deckard, who is one of Cass's brothers, who again goes off to culinary school at the beginning, so we don't see too much of him, but we do get quite a bit of him and his fears about going to culinary school and stuff, which is a great episode. But yeah, Cass is fantastic, and I'm glad you can see the kindred spirit of software engineer. Very funny. I feel like the wizard household in general is just like absolutely insane, because like everyone is doing such vastly wildly different things, right? And I think it's really hard for me to choose because I like them all so much for different reasons. Like, I love Wesley, who is just very quiet and is a fisherman. Like, just wants to fish. And I like Howell because he's absurd and owns the cafe, and is like tries to boss everyone around. But if I had to choose, I think I'm gonna choose Crispin as my favorite of the wizard family.
He's the clown guy.
He's the clown guy because his weird interest is so specific. He is a mechanic, like a mechanic for automobiles and motorcycles and everything, right? But he has an obsession with clowns, and he like ran away to join the circus at one point.
Because the family forgot his birthday, so he ran away and joined the circus for 10 years.
Yes, and it's so funny. Oh my goodness. And so literally he just turns everything very clown themed. And it's brilliant, because then you realize when you're looking around, like B goes and is trying to get her motorcycle fix, or scooter, whatever it is. And of course Crispin turns it, like decks it out in clown weirdness. But then you realize like other vehicles in town are clown, and the train into town is a clown, and like everything is a clown because Crispin does all the mechanical engineering. Oh my goodness, it absolutely kills me.
My favorite joke is he's like working on a car and it's like a normal looking car and he's like, man, I could fit like 12 people in here.
Oh, so good.
And it's
So
just like
good.
him talking to himself to no one. Like it's a joke for no one.
Oh, brilliant. Anyway, so I love Crispin. I also he's just angsty and doesn't it doesn't like talk to people too much, you know? And so it's just that's another just funny dynamic. So yeah, I mean there are obviously a lot of other little side characters and a lot of the wizard family, and we could talk about Toast and how weird she is, but um yeah, like I mean everything in the show is hilarious. Every character, Tempbot, like everyone has their own ways of being funny.
Tempbot who fell in love with cell phone.
Yes. Yes. And like even Tempbot, who's this computer who gives them the jobs, the temp jobs, like will have the most ridiculous dialogue of just like very casual and informal and modern dialogue, even though she's a computer. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of humor that I appreciate. So really quick, like production history, if it is, it's just kind of weird and interesting how this show even came about in the first place, right? Because it's on YouTube. You can watch the original stuff from 2013. All created and written by Natasha Allegri. But originally, when the pilot aired on 2013, they had a Kickstarter campaign for it, and it was like at the time the most successful Kickstarter for like an animated series ever. And I think their goal was like, I should have written this down, like $600,000 or something. They got like well over $800,000 and like were able to make the series that's on YouTube that you can watch. And so they put that on YouTube between 2014 2016, right? And then but Bee and Puppycat Lazy in Space was supposed to air in 2019 on VRV, which I don't really know what VRV is. Do you know what that is?
Nope.
Wherever that is, that's where it was going to be.
Because we don't know about it. That's probably one of the issues that
that's probably one of the issues. And apparently all those episodes were leaked online in 2020. And I didn't know that either. So most of these episodes are from like 2019, which is crazy. But then Netflix basically, however, they gained the rights to Bee and Puppycat Lazy in Space, this like reboot of the series. They decided to commission 3 episodes at the beginning of the series to recap the stuff that happens in the YouTube series. So that's why the first 3 episodes are almost kind of like they somehow turned the original YouTube series, mashed it up to make even less sense, and put it in 3 episodes.
Yep. Yep.
And a lot of people who are original fans of the series comment on that, you know, and I think that is justified. But for whatever reason, I really liked it and kept watching. But and then they just added it to the Lazy in Space content that was already there, and then that's how you have the 2022 Netflix release. And I just mentioned all of that because I feel like even the production of this content is just weird and chopped together and ridiculous, and clearly has no real home or set like production company wanting to develop it. So because of that history, I guess like it makes me less certain that we'll ever get more of it, because or at least in the same way, because it wasn't even like, it's not even really, I mean, it kind of is a Netflix original. It's only on Netflix right now, like the Lazy in Space, but like it's not from Netflix animation studio, and Netflix didn't like commission it specifically. They took it and then commissioned a few episodes to go tag onto it. So
yeah, and so like these artists and producers and writers are like you said, if this was like 2019, like they're doing something else now, right? Like
yeah,
it's probably it would be weird for Netflix to try and like wrap all these like, you know, distant figures back together to try and do something again with it to answer the questions for a show that never wanted to answer any of your questions.
Right.
So,
And unless it was like really popular, I don't think it is as popular as I would hope it to be. Like it kind of has fallen under the radar, but I don't think Netflix is going to continue with it. Not to say it can't ever get like additional content, because I mean, look at it now. Like you just like it originally aired in 2013, and then they were able to do more. You know, it was probably in production 2017, 2018 for more content. But again, like that was so, even that production time was really close to the original YouTube airing, and now it's been so many years. Yeah, like we said. It's just going to be hard to see more episodes being created. But like for me at least, like I don't need all my questions to be answered. Like it is still just a joy to watch this show. And in general, like I don't know, this show just speaks to my soul and like comforts me in such a weird way that's why I'm so obsessed with it. And like I've never seen a show like this. Like even though we compare it to Adventure Time or like I don't even know, Steven Universe or whatever, like it's not any of those things. It's completely weird and unusual and different, and like and as an atmospheric cartoon has such a specific vibe that I find it extremely comforting.
did you ever watch any of those other cartoon hangover YouTube shorts and stuff?
I did not. No.
You might want to go take a look.
They have
It
the
might
same
be your
vibe.
cup of tea.
Okay.
I know the show that made Cartoon Hangover like real famous, I think, is Bravest Warriors, and particularly Catbug.
I have heard of Catbug.
You've heard of
I've
Catbug.
heard of Catbug.
A lot of people. So like Catbug and like Puppycat were like sort of in this like same vein when they were all coming out. Of just like, I think there was almost too much like crossover of like, what is this Catbug? No, this is Puppycat, and you're like,
sure.
oh, okay. Like it's just like strange things, but
yeah,
that sort of absurdist humor. Bravest Warriors, I think, has actual plot because they're trying to be heroes and are much more Adventure Time. Like Bravest Heroes, even like, or Bravest, I think it's Bravest Warriors, even like looks like Adventure Time. Like the main character looks like Finn. Like,
got it. Yeah.
And so it's still very much that era of Cartoon Network cartoons.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it was interesting too, thinking about Bee and Puppycat and its like origins in YouTube, is that like this was such like the, I don't know, height of YouTube creativity in a way, of like this era of like, you know, early 2010s, you know, and I feel like, and where there was like different and new stuff coming out all the time. And obviously YouTube is still successful, not to say that, but just that like I don't know, the way that this show like came to be is just like it's very like unique and fun.
Mainstream counterculture that like we're gonna do it with our own studio and we're gonna crowdfund it and put it on, you know, a streaming platform instead of trying to sell it to a network to put it on TV, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, I'll have to check out some more Cartoon Hangover shows, and maybe we'll have to talk about more of them. I mean, I am glad we were able to talk about Bee and Puppycat, because I've just been so like so excited about it, and you know, talking about it a lot. But yeah, it's you are the only person I know who's watched it, so thank you for watching it.
Well, hopefully we've sparked more of your listeners' interests to go give it a find on Netflix.
Yes, please do. Please watch it. Let me know what you think. Even if you aren't a fan, that's okay. And let me know. You can reach me via email at fanimatedpodcast@gmail.com or Instagram at fanimatedpodcast. Also trying to keep up to date with everything on uploading all the episodes to YouTube as well, Fanimated Podcast. Doing some live streams over there, which has been super fun. And you know what? We have to thank the Fanimated crew over on Patreon, because without them, this whole podcast would not exist. They pay for the monthly fees it takes to upload this content to the ether. So it is thanks to them that you're listening to our voices right now. And you can become a member of the Fanimated crew at patreon.com/Fanimated. So you get bonus episodes. There's like over a dozen. A couple dozen maybe by this point. There's a lot. Nathan's nodding his head like, yes, Kelly, you forget how much content you have on that.
Probably almost 30.
Yes. You'll also get polls for upcoming topics, and I try to keep everyone up to date on podcasting things and the schedule and all that. So once again, that's patreon.com/Fanimated. The music is written by JD Krause. The art is done by myself, and you can find my art Instagram at CandorDraw. So Nathan and I will be back soon to discuss another space-related animated television series.
Yes, it's very much exactly the same vibe. It's not.
It's not. Not at all. Can you guess what other space-related thing? There's a lot of space-related stuff, so...
Space is cool.
Space is very cool, and we're about to explore more of it. So, until then, stay tuned.
And stay animated. You forget how many just absurd characters there are. Like, I did not expect us to talk for like 10 minutes about Pretty Patrick. God damn him.
Water definitely went up my nose.